Donald Trump bringing his message to Detroit in an effort to appeal to minority voters. The Republican nominee speaking to a predominantly black congregation, which gave him a warm welcome. But outside, well, the mood was different. Dozens of protesters demonstrated against Mr. Trump as he tried to court voters in the church, saying he would lift our country's economic fortunes.
I believe we need a civil rights agenda for our time, one that ensures the rights to a great education, so important, and the right to live in safety and in peace, and to have a really, really great job, a good paying job, and one that you love to go to every morning. And that can happen.
Let's bring in our panel. Mustafa Tamiz joins us, a Democratic strategist. Sean Jackson is with us, the chairman of the board of the Black Republican Caucus of Florida. Gentlemen, nice to have you both here. Sean, we'll put it up on the screen. Trump's support among black voters is, I think it's fair to say, abysmal. The latest Fox News poll has him at 4%. His poll average is 3%. I mean, he's deeply unpopular among African Americans. Is one visit to a black church really going to change that?
Well, you know what, first and foremost, Greg, thanks for having me on this morning. But it's not just about this one visit to this one black church. You're going to see Mr. Trump, I believe, doing this time and time again from now until election day.
What took him so long? He's been running for 14 months.
Well, you know what? I can't personally speak to that. The best person to speak to that would be Omarosa Manigault, who is the head of Trump's diversity team.
But were you frustrated when you saw that he didn't go to black colleges, black churches, black communities, and especially when he rejected the invitation to speak before the NAACP?
Well, you know what, to be quite fair, Mr. Trump did not reject that invitation. As I understand it, there was a conflict of interest, and unfortunately, I just believe the ball was dropped in ensuring that someone from the campaign, a good representative of the campaign, was there. It didn't frustrate me because, again, I knew that there was a conflict of interest, and I believe that the NAACP knew just how important that the Republican National Convention was at the time of their event, and, you know, no, it didn't frustrate me.
Mustafa, Trump delivered very scripted remarks. Some people said it looked like he hadn't read them yet. But he did say, quote, "Those who seek office do not do enough to step into the community and learn what's going on." Sounds like he's talking about himself, right? I mean, this is the first time he'd ever stepped into the community.
Absolutely. But I am glad that he went. You know, there was a letter by national security experts, mostly Republican, that said Donald Trump is not prepared to handle national security issues. And if there's anything he's less prepared than national security, is domestic policy. And so for him to be in an inner city, and I think for the first time in his campaign, I've heard him say that he actually is going to try to listen, which is helpful. And
I think it's good, but others thought it was a charade. In fact, the head of the Detroit NAACP said it was a scam. Detroit's mayor said Trump offered no real solutions. And some people in the congregation said, you know what, he wants something from us, and wouldn't it have been nice if he came to us before he wanted something?
Well, look, he spent a lifetime. If he elected, he'll be the oldest president elected in the United States history. He spent a lifetime building condominiums for affluent golf clubs. He has never worked in the inner city as a developer.
And discriminating against black tenants. His company was sued for racial discrimination.
And that was early with him and his family. So he's had an entire lifetime of trying to do something in the African community. He hasn't done it. And so now that he shows up right before election, people are naturally going to be suspicious. And then his rhetoric, his entire campaign has been completely against the unity of the public.
What about that? I mean, he stirred a lot of anger in the African-American community when he said, essentially, your lives are so miserable, what do you have to lose? Vote for me.
Okay, but and that's to my point, exactly to my point. Mrs. Clinton has done the exact same thing, if you want to call it that, showing up at the 9th hour. She's spoken to the NAACP once. She has gone to a couple of black churches over the tenure of her entire campaign.
But that's more than Donald Trump.
Whether we go tit for tat on how many times, the fact of the matter is that Hillary Clinton's best interest or most precious interest is not in the black community, number one. And number two, might I add that Mr. Trump was absolutely on point when he said that, what do we have to lose? Black folks across America have been giving the Democratic Party their vote for the past 50 years. And if you look in the most blighted communities of inner cities and the major, most metropolitan areas that are democratically run, might I add, you will see that black Americans have not been able to advance their quality of life.
Mustafa, is it too high of a hurdle for him to gain any measurable increase in African American support? A lot of people, especially African Americans, hold it against Trump that he claimed for the longest time that the first African American president wasn't born here, and he also suggested he wasn't qualified to attend Ivy League schools. I mean, people remember that stuff.
It's hard to forget it because he's had such a long history of not just saying the wrong things, but really doing the wrong things. And, you know, after the last election, there was an autopsy done that talked about what the Republicans need to do in order to gain back trust from African-American communities and Latino communities. And Donald Trump has done and said completely the opposite of that, has alienated communities of color from voting for Republicans. And it's a sad thing because we're a two-party nation. And as a Democrat, I'm saying I want a strong Republican Party.
Right.
And Donald Trump is weakening the Republican Party by what he says. And he is endangering the fabric of our nation.